Hello, and welcome to the Fiber Circus. This is episode 13, and it's January 16th, 2019. If you are a new viewer, this is a podcast about knitting, spinning, dyeing, machine knitting, and our fiber farm that my husband and I have in southern Indiana. I'm your host, Elizabeth. Thanks a lot for joining me. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks a lot for coming back. If you need to get a hold of me, everything about this week's show will be down in the show notes, which are located just underneath in the little arrow for the notes and whatnot. And you can also contact me on Ravelry or Instagram or Facebook as Spottedcircus, or through my website at Spottedcircus.com. Or leave a comment below. Let me know what you like about the show and what you'd like to see different, maybe. So, thanks a lot for coming along, and I hope that you enjoy this week's episode. This week, I'm feeling a little under the weather, because it's finally gotten cold. So I'm drinking tea this week, and it is in my Woolly Jumpers mug. And I can kind of tilt it. You can see it says Woolly Jumpers. And it's from Moorland, Moorland Pottery. And they're out of the UK. And I saw Amy from the Stranded Dye Works always had this mug in her background. But yeah, she doesn't drink any tea. She just has a cute mug. And I ordered one just before Christmas, I think it was. And it took a while to get over here, but I really like it. Completely handmade, and it's just got all these cute little bitty sheep in sheep sweaters. And it's different. I mean, I don't know if all UK mugs are like this, but it's very wide versus tall. And so your tea cools down a little bit quicker, which is kind of nice, but you also need to drink it a little bit faster. But the tea that I'm drinking today is called Candy Cane Crush from David's Tea. It's a black tea with candy cane pieces in it. And it's currently a part of their 50% off sale, so I stocked up while I could. And it's nice. I mean, it kind of tastes like a liquid candy cane. It's not overly minty, but you just get that little essence of candy cane, which I really like. So, a little bit about what's been going on this past couple of weeks. I'm giving kind of an update here at the beginning, because it's been an interesting last 2 weeks. We started out thinking we were going to do a very simple home repair. They're never simple. And we also thought, hey, we can do it ourselves. Our kitchen sink started leaking, and it had been in the house since it was built, so probably, I want to say the house was built in 95, so the sink was getting up there a little bit in age, and we noticed that around where the water came out, it was starting to rust. And we thought, oh, no big deal. But then it started to leak, and it, got the entire bottom of the cabinet wet to the point where it was starting to get kind of nasty. So we decided, oh, real simple, we're just going to replace bits and bobs here. Well, when we started looking at new sinks, we ended up having to replace the entire sink basin, and then we replaced the actual faucet and all the lines going into the sink. And once we started doing that, I pulled out a copper inlet hose for our dishwasher, because that was how the water is getting fed over to the dishwasher, and I pulled it out because I couldn't get it to route in with the new plumbing that I'd put in. And in doing that, I somehow managed to disconnect a wire behind the dishwasher, which was direct wired into the wall, and I'll put a photo of it up here. It was kind of scary when we pulled out the dishwasher and noticed that it looked like that. So that resulted in an electrician having to come out, and luckily it was just literally a wire had come loose. And he then replaced it with a plug-in, which now we've pulled out the dishwasher probably 4 or 5 times, and it's become a real pain in the butt. And I finally talked my husband into replacing the dishwasher, which is over 15 years old, probably closer to 20 would be my guess. So we got a new dishwasher coming, which is exciting. That was a bit of a fiasco because we looked at it online at Lowe's and at Home Depot and at Best Buy, and it was at like $4.98, I think. And we thought, okay, we'll wait till the morning and we'll buy it in the morning. Well, the price said right on it, good until like 2 days after this date that we were looking at it. And when we looked at it in the morning and hit refresh, magically the price jumped to $5.60. And I was like, well, how did this happen? Because I had a screenshot from when we'd originally looked at it. So I called Lowe's customer service, and they tried to give me the runaround about how, oh, well, we don't know why the price magically jumped at every single retailer, even though it said the price was good for another 2 days. And, oh, yeah, we'll price match. So I found a little ghetto seller, like something like Bob's Discount Appliances online or something, and they had it for the same price. So I called them back and said, hey, you gonna price match this? It's at a lower price right here. And it took them probably 20 minutes, and they decided no, they couldn't price match that because they sold nick and dent appliances as well, and that could be a nick and dent price. So that kind of ticked me off. So I continued to verbally complain about how, this price was just this, and magically everyone has jumped it up overnight. What's the deal? And finally, it came down to the gentleman on the phone finally checked and said, oh, it was a computer glitch. That somehow the computer jumped up the price overnight. And I'm sitting thinking, yeah, at every single location, I doubt that. So they finally honored the price. So it just goes to show you persistence pays off. So if you think that something's not right, continue to speak up and complain loudly, because eventually you're going to get it right. So we got a new dishwasher coming. Unfortunately, it won't be here till next Saturday, so we're having to wash dishes by hand. And boy, I remember now why I love my dishwasher. So that'll be fun. So the last 2 weeks has been full of dish and plumbing nightmares. We still have a really slow drip at one of our inlets, and it's a matter of we've got to take it off and re-plumber tape it and try again. I'm hoping that we didn't somehow crack the PVC pipe inlet that's coming in, and we just haven't gotten around to doing it yet because it's such a slow drip that we can catch it in a little container at least and dump it every couple days. But plumbing can be a bit of a nightmare. So that's been our adventure. So it's taken up a bit of my time with knitting. So I have a little bit of work in progress to show you though. So my first work in progress is my Suriously Holey by Stephen West that I was working on. And I haven't made a ton of progress. So there's where I was last week. So there's a new set of holes here. You can see. And here is the other side. And it is being knit out of, the black is my alpaca bamboo called Pacaboo. And it's an alpaca merino bamboo nylon. And the colorway is called Disco Lights. And then the white is an alpaca silk, if I remember right, brushed mohair style, and it was in the neon sprinkles. So I haven't made a ton of progress on it simply because I've been occupied with something else. But I've gone from having 3 holes to 3 more holes in this outside edge area. And that is being knit on size, I think that they are 5s. 5s or 6s. Let me see if my pattern tells me. US 5s. And these are Addy Click interchangeables. And I love my Addy Clicks. And I love them because of the way they join. So if you look at the join here, they click on and off. So you have to actually push them. Come on, focus. So you can see instead of screwing on, they actually push on. And so they aren't quite as likely to come apart, which I like. So I'm working on that still. Slow but steady progress. It'll eventually get done. It's a pretty big shawl. It's supposed to take 600 yards of each color, so it's going to take a while. And it's living in my Star Knits bag full of octopi. And I got this at SSK this past year. And it's a little bit small for the bag, but I keep squishing it in because the bag is easy to carry around. And I like it. So from there, we'll go into my Dust to Snow wrap by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And I forgot to show this last time on the podcast because I'd forgotten I'd actually worked on it. But let me see where my progress keeper is. I know I have one on here. Alright, well, maybe I have forgotten to put a progress keeper on. So, oh, no, there's one. Holy cow, I did a lot. Alright, so this is technically a month's worth of work. So here's my progress keeper. I was down in the pink still. And I've gone through the oranges and into the bright neon yellows, and I'm starting on the greens right now. So this is my next little ball that I'm starting on. And I have all of these still left to go. But I'm on color number 11 is what I'm starting on right now. So I'm getting ready to blend in this color, So I'll be going into the greens next. And color number 11 out of 24. And according to the chart, I'm at 40%, which I have a hard time believing because 11 colors out of 24 is not half. We'll see. So, yeah. I'm making pretty... It's really easy once I pick it up and get going on it, because about the time you get in a rhythm, the color changes. And it's already a pretty darn good sized shawl. I mean, you can see I can't fit it all on camera right now, and it's not blocked at all. The yarn that I'm using is a Rainbow Gradient mini skein set by Stitch Together Studio. And it's going along pretty well. There aren't going to be a ton of ends to weave in. There's a few over here, but it's not bad. But it's making pretty good progress so far. And these are being knit on size 6, I think, because the other was size 5, so these are size 6, and these are also my Addy clicks. So, I got to get going on that. So, it was supposed to have been an Advent knit along, you know, so I should have been done by Christmas. That didn't happen, obviously. Maybe it may get some work time when I'm on the plane. I haven't exactly decided which project I'm going to take with me out to Colorado next week. Because I want for it to be somewhat portable, and it's kind of bulky right now. But we'll see. And that's living in my Sushi Cat bag by Ginger Snap That, who is a maker out of Canada. And I just love that cat. He just looks so happy with his sushi and his little sword. So then my third work in progress, which is what I've really been working on the most, is my Evenflow cardigan. And I think that the end is near, finally. Which is great, because that means I can start another sweater. So, last time we talked, this way is up, I had been working on my sleeves. So, I was right there where the white dot is. So, there's one sleeve complete. And so, I just continued knitting along. I did some 1x1 ribbing at the end. I did cut them slightly shorter than what the pattern called for, because I didn't want, like, half arm sleeves, so I cut it closer to my elbow so that way I can push them up pretty easily. So I did that sleeve, and then, where's my other sleeve? Here's my other sleeve that I'm working on. And I'm about halfway done with it. So I've done, I think, 7 or 8 decreases so far, and I have another 7 to go if I remember right. So I've stopped, I'm not alternating balls at all on these sleeves. And I don't think that it's pooling, really. There's a little something wonky right there. But that's going to be on the back, and nobody's going to see that. So, that's all I've got to finish. It's just that, and I'm hoping I can get it done by next week when I leave for the YAK show. And then, there's a lot of ends to weave in. I don't know why exactly there's so many ends. I mean, part of it is I was juggling 3 balls, but I got a lot of ends to weave in. And I've got to do something about my pickup that I did, because it's way too loose on that first sleeve. On the second sleeve, I went down 2 needle sizes when I picked it up. And it actually looks quite a bit better. It's not quite as open. So I need to find a way to go through and figure out where that first thread is on the first sleeve and try to pull it tighter, because I'm not too thrilled with it. But that being said, if I get the sleeve done and the majority of the ends woven in that people could actually see, I'm still going to wear it. So, that's being knit out of Madelintosh Pashmina, which is a merino silk cashmere yarn. And I know it's going to grow probably because of the content. So that's also why I didn't knit the sleeves super long. And the colorway is called Spectrum. So this will be a really pretty sweater. It's the Evenflow by Holey Locatelli. I thought that I would have this done much sooner, but you know, that's how it goes. And it is living in my Bags by Awesome Granny Firefly Kids bag. And it looks like I'm going to have a good sized chunk of yarn left over on this sweater too. So I'm not real sure what is lying here, if it's my gauge or if the patterns are just building in quite a bit of extra. Because I know I'll have at least 1 full skein probably extra when I get done with this, if not a skein and a half. And these sweaters are fitting correctly. So, I'm not real sure what the deal is. I'm following the patterns, but it sure isn't working quite right so far. so let's see. Those were my works in progress. I haven't cast on anything new, even though I've been looking at new things all the time. And I haven't done any spinning, and I didn't buy anything either, which is good for me. I am wearing something this week. This is my Andrea Mowry shift cowl, and it's made from my Merpac silk, which is a DK that's merino, alpaca, yak, and mulberry silk. It's in 5 different colors, as you can see. And I'm getting a lot more wear out of it than what I thought I would. Initially, I wasn't too keen because it's like a giant neckerchief. I mean, it comes down to a point down here, and then it's just kind of this loose area. But I find that when I zip up my coat, it actually snugs it up pretty nice, which I like. So I'm getting a lot more use out of it than what I thought I would, and I like it. The yarn's holding up pretty well. It's not extremely fuzzy. There's some critter hair on it, but you know, that's to be expected. But yeah, I mean, the stitch definition turned out really nice. And I have some extras now of all these little skeins. So I think I'm going to maybe try to make some matching wristers of some sort, or some fingerless gloves out of it. So we'll see. But I'm definitely going to wear it next week at the yak judging because it has yak in it. So got to show what the yak can do. Machine knitting. I haven't really machine knit anything this week, but I did do a lot of repairing. I have sponge bars, which are these bars that run the length of the needles, and they have about a 1/2 inch sponge on top of them. And the sponge helps to actually hold the needles down flat, so that way as they knit, they aren't jumping all over the place. And that's one of the first things you usually have to replace in a machine when you get one. And so since I'm going to be teaching machine knitting here in a few weeks, I had to go through and refurbish all those sponge bars. You can buy brand new ones, but they're like $20+, and you have to ship them. So instead I bought sponge replacement kits. So I spent the week using Goo Gone and removing the old glue and scraping out old, nasty, broken down sponges and then gluing in brand new ones. So that took a fair bit. I also had a machine that was deciding how to pattern all on its own without me putting in a card that told it what to do, and that was a little frustrating. So I literally pulled the entire machine apart. I pulled it out of its case, I pulled the needle bed out, and I went through and very heavily cleaned all the cogs that were in there and took stuff apart that looks kind of scary. And I'll put a couple of pictures up here about what it is that I did. But basically what was happening was there's a timing belt that goes back and forth, and it helps to select the needles into different patterns. And it was only turning about 1 inch or 2 in the beginning, and it wouldn't fully rotate, and so it was stuck on this ghost pattern. And there's a set of white cogs underneath where the card reader is that are supposed to turn and select all these needles, and they weren't turning either. So I took everything apart, and there was a bunch of yellow old nasty grease that used to be used when they made these machines, and that had gotten gunked up, and I think it had kind of clogged up a few things. So a lot of silicone spray, a lot of what's called LPS1. It's a greaseless cleaning lubricant. And I cleaned the entire bed out, put it back together, and it works. And it works perfectly. Thank God. And I didn't have any extra parts or screws when I got done either, which was also an awesome thing. So we got that one repaired, so now it's back up and running, which is nice. Because to have to ship one of these machines out, it takes quite a while to get them back because they're heavy. There aren't a lot of people that repair them, and while I'm lucky that I have 2 guys in the state that'll repair them, I kind of needed it sooner. So it gave me a little bit more confidence now to go in and start working on stuff. I did go in and lubricate a couple of my electronic machines too, which is a little more touchy because there's 20+-year-old electronics in there. But everybody's up and running. I do have 4 carriages out getting deep clean repaired that I couldn't quite get figured out myself, so I'm praying to God that they get them done in the next 2 or 3 weeks, because then I'll be able to use them for my classes. So I did that. Let's see. So yeah, no spinning, no acquisitions, even though I've been tempted by a lot of really nice stuff online. Mentally, I know, must destash. And if you've been watching my page at all, I have been destashing some random fiber, and I'm going to continue to do so. I have a bunch of lots of like little locks and some undyed fiber where it's not quite a full 4 ounces, or it's like one of a kind, and to list those up or have them for sale is kind of a pain for me because It means taking pictures, making individual listings, and I'd rather do it all as one large batch. So I'm doing some destashes, so there's a couple of boxes still left. I have a bunch of pearl fiber for sale if anybody's interested in undyed pearl fiber. So keep an eye out. The next thing is my travel, and the travel schedule's gotten a lot more full since we've last talked, because a lot of people have figured out that spring is coming and that they should probably start scheduling me if they want me to come to their farms. So next week on Wednesday I'm going to be leaving for Denver for the National Western Stock Show for the iYak competition, and that's the International Yak Association, and I'm going to be judging the fiber on the animals and evaluating their fiber production, and then also their fiber arts and skein competition. So this is pretty awesome to get to be able to do this. The woman who developed the program for judging yaks basically took me under her wing as an apprentice judge for 2 years, and now I'm going to be doing it on my own, but she's going to be there to kind of keep an eye on me. So it'll be pretty fun. I'm hoping to do some video of the yaks while I'm out there. It's one of the larger gatherings of yaks from what it is that I understand, and they come in a couple of different colors, which if you didn't know that, it's kind of cool. They also don't make normal cow-like noises, they actually grunt, and that's why they're called the grunting ox. So I'll try to get some sound footage too of the little grunts, because it's actually kind of cute. There'll be yak riding, so you can sit in a yak saddle and actually ride a yak around. There'll be yak fiber arts for sale. There's some yak milk cheese and soap that I know will be there for sale. And then there'll also be a yak meat there. Really their primary use is more of a meat animal, and so they do a grilling thing there in front of the yak pens and let you taste yak, and it's actually really, really delicious. So I get tempted every year when I go out to the yak show and say, man, I need me a yak. But they won't fit in my carry-on luggage, so I haven't figured out how to work that out yet. But you never know. Someday I could have a yak. So after the yak competition, I'll get back Saturday night, and I'm going to turn around and leave Monday morning to go teach up in Roscoe, New York at a farm, and it's just a one-day machine knitting class for somebody that got a machine and wants to learn how to use it and start producing stuff for their farm store. So I'll go up there, hit them up one day, and then turn right back around and come back home. And then February 9th and 10th, I'll be at Heritage Farm Suri up in Flora, Indiana for a machine knitting class. You have the option of just 1 day with the basics or 2 days with even more information. So check out their website. It'll be linked below in the show notes. After that, I'll be February 23rd and 24th at Rolling Oaks Alpaca Ranch down in Makanda, Illinois. That's down there in southern Illinois, and it's down in the wine country, so you can go see wineries afterward, which is really nice. And it's the same class that I'll be teaching down there, and both of them are at Alpaca Farm, so if you've never seen an alpaca, you can come along and learn how to machine knit and see the alpacas. After that, March 14th through 17th, I'm going to be out at the National Alpaca Show out in Denver, Colorado. I'll be doing demonstrations on using alpaca fiber, probably spinning, carding, possibly bringing along a machine to do some machine knitting while I'm there, and I'll have a full vending booth, so stop by if you're going to be in the area. It'll be a pretty good sized show with probably 500 plus alpacas, and lots of good vendors, so stop out. After that, March 30th, I'm going to have a one-day class on machine knitting at Bloominglabs in Bloomington, Indiana here, which is a maker space, so that should be a lot of fun too, hopefully. And then April 19th and 20th is the fiber event in Greencastle, which is a vending event that's about 30 minutes from my house. So I'll be vending there, and hopefully I'll have a bunch of new yarns and stuff. I have about 200 pounds sitting up at a commercial dehair right now that as soon as I pay the bill on it, it's going to come and be produced into yarn and fiber. And I have some pretty luxurious blends in mind for it. One of them's probably going to be an alpaca yak silk. And it'll be fawn colored with some muga silk, which is gold colored in there with it. So it should be a really pretty yarn, and I'm hoping to maybe get to the yak farm that's in northern Indiana and see about getting some of their fiber, so that way I could use more of a local fiber. So we'll see. I'm going to talk to them next week when I'm out in Colorado. So let's see, that's the fiber event. Besides that, I have just a really small shop update. I did my dyeing for this month's spinning box, and the theme of this month was Pure Vita, which has to do with Costa Rica. So I chose is my inspiration. I used to breed dart frogs, poison dart frogs, and I was breeding, let me think, what's their official name? They're a Pumilio species, which means they're an egg-eating species. So they lay their tadpoles into the bottom of a bromeliad where there's water, and then they come back and actually feed them an unfertilized egg. And that's how they end up growing up. And I actually hatched a few of those out. Well, I didn't. The parents hatched them out. And the first time I saw one jump out, I just about had a heart attack because it probably wasn't any bigger than the end of my fingernail. It was teeny tiny. And I was like, oh, cha-ching, money just jumped out. So that was pretty cool. But the little frogs are mainly red and blue, which is why they're called the blue jeans. And so I dyed up this red and blue Alpaca roving with a little bit of starbright in it. So there's actually a tiny bit of sparkle to it, which the lights aren't exactly picking up. And it's an extremely fine alpaca. It's a sub 20 micron. So, maybe you can kind of see. But yeah, so it's a red and blue. There's hints of white. There's a few little bitty black freckles throughout there. So that'll be in this month's spinning box. So go check it out and order it. It should be a really bright and colorful box. I'm getting ready to dye for next month's spinning box, which is the Holey festival. And that will probably go up into the shop shortly thereafter as well. So shop update. That's the majority of the things I can think of. Not a lot of real exciting things except for the plumbing this past 2 weeks. The plumbing just became a bigger and bigger nightmare the more that we worked on it. So that kind of kept me a little bit distracted from doing other things. But with travel kicking off next week, and I've got to get taxes done, and I need to finish writing up how to machine knit instructions so that way I have handouts for people. So I need to get all that taken care of soon. So hopefully I'll get a lot of footage from the YAK show, and you can see other things that are going on out at the stock show. The National Western Stock Show is a huge livestock show that happens in January in Denver every year. And it starts at the beginning of the month, and it runs for, I think, a solid 3 to 4 weeks. The alpacas go in for their show the first week of the show, and the yaks are at the last part of the show. So it'll be interesting to see what the weather's like. We judge outside, because the yaks are in pens outdoors. And I've been there when it was bitterly cold, like freezing cold. And I've been there when you could walk around in a t-shirt in January. And they've just gotten a bunch of snow, from what I understand. Kind of like we got 3 or 4 inches this past week, and we're supposed to get more this weekend. So I never quite know how to pack for the YAK show. I always bring layers, because you can always take layers off. And I always bring a bag, because if my boots get yacky, I want to be able to pack them in my carry-on and not have to wear them back on the plane. So we shall see how that goes. You may hear a lot of me shivering on the video. But the yaks are pretty cool. They're really nice bunch of people. They're really friendly. And the yaks are actually really kind of cool animals to be out around. So otherwise, I'll probably show you a little video here of outside where it's nice and snowy right now for the sideshow this week. We have one animal in a coat right now, Haley. She's a blue-eyed white, so she looks kind of creepy. And I know she looks creepy. She's got these buggy blue eyes that are like this, and she's solid white, so it makes her a little different. She's also deaf, so she tends to talk to herself quite a bit, but she's going on 14 or 15 this year, if I remember right, and she's just not holding her body condition the way that we want to see, so she got a coat put on her. Luckily, she tolerates it pretty well, and it's a nice barrier against the cold blowing up against her, and if it snows or rains, it helps her out a little bit, so that's about it for this week, I think. I will see you guys again in 2 weeks, after which I will have been to the YAK show, and I will have been to New York, most likely. So, we'll see how much knitting I get done in those 2 weeks. Hopefully a little bit, and hopefully I get a sweater done. So, otherwise, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye!
Haley.